Sometimes we get wrapped up in self care as an act rather than a practice. The more we practice self care, the more we strengthen our sense of what we need. Make a list of 5 things you need from yourself right now. It may be a break from hard work, some fresh air, or time to meditate. No matter what it is, be sure to make it consistent practice to check in with yourself. I'm Jackie Clark, and welcome to Sisters with Superpowers. And today I'm joined by author and friend, Miss Ebony Morgan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for creating a year of Black Girl Magic. Can you all see this? A year of Black Girl Magic. We are here to talk about your book. We are here to talk about why you created a year of Black Girl Magic, share some tips and affirmation with us. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Sisters with Superpowers. So we are going to talk about what your superpower is and how you intend to continue to inspire other Black girls to walk and exude magic. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. So, of course, as you know, my name is Ebony Morgan, and I actually started my journey towards authorship when I was very young. So, at the very young age of 13 is when I started my blog, Ebony Curls. And that's essentially what grew into now what is a year of Black Girl Magic and my online brand, Ebony Curls. And I honestly had just loved writing ever since I was young. It was something I was always so passionate about. And so being able to have my own platform, my own little space on the internet to share my innermost thoughts and just my experience as a young Black girl really helped shape, I think, a year of Black Girl Magic and further a community of just fantastic, beautiful women online.
I love that. And, I personally have this book, and I literally, along with my devotional and Bible, I do my dailies, and it's definitely a great mood booster. So, talk to me about how did you come up with the concept for a year of Black Girl Magic?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, my blog was very much just my little space where I could share my thoughts, everything that I just wanted the world to know about the experience that I had growing up. And so what really kind of helped shape a year of Black Girl Magic was my own journey to self-love. I went through a really challenging time where I had no choice but to develop, I think, an unconditional love for myself, and especially for Black women. I found it to be, and I continue to find it to be, such a challenge. And I think really being vocal and vulnerable and open about that journey is what has become a year of Black Girl Magic. So the story was that through my blog, the publishers actually contacted me and said, we've been reading what you've been writing about. And again, this is all just what I wanted to write from the heart. It wasn't what other folks were telling me to write. And they just really admired how I was able to put a voice to these experiences and asked if I would be interested in authoring this project. So a year of Black Girl Magic, I would say, fell into my lap. It came to me. And I think because it sort of worked out in that sense, it found me in a time where I needed writing, where I needed myself, and where I really needed to find a way or more ways to show myself unconditional love. And so, yeah, that thus became a year of Black Girl Magic.
I love that for you. And thank you for sharing that. I love that, just through you sharing yourself, being vulnerable and open, you were able to cultivate an experience which led to an actual book. And so is this your first book, first ever book?
It is my first book. Yes.
Exciting. And it's so beautiful, like colors, patterns, great, easy read. And again, a year of Black Girl Magic, a daily reflection and practices to celebrate Black women.
Yes.
So how would you define Black Girl Magic?
Yeah. So I love when people ask me this question because I think Black Girl Magic is a Black woman or a Black girl just being able to love herself unconditionally and to embrace every aspect of themselves and to share that. I think when it comes to the conversation around magic, people often think, okay, well, I have to be extraordinary or I have to be above everybody else in order to really exude Black Girl Magic, but it's quite the opposite. Mm-hmm. I've come to realize that really being in my full self and remaining present and just trusting in my ability to do anything that I want to do is really what Black Girl Magic is. And it just continues to show itself in so many different ways that it's incredible to think about, because I think so many different Black women exude Black Girl Magic in so many different ways. And so there isn't just one way that Black Girl Magic exists, but for that reason, it makes it all the more magical.
100%. And for those who are listening and watching in the chat, tell us what you believe Black Girl Magic is. Share your favorite affirmation, daily quote, or motivation that inspires you. Let us know that in the chat. I'll start with mine. Mine is from a friend of mine actually who wrote a book called The Gentlewoman, and he took forever to write the inscription in my book. And his name is Enitin Barriola II. And he wrote for me, "The crown is heavy, but you got this." And
Mm.
it was timely for me per se, and it's one of the affirmations I say daily. It's on my phone. It's actually tatted on my wrist and
Ah, I
on my
love
arm. And
it.
I'm not a big person on tatting sayings and all that stuff, but my name is actually Jacqueline, and if and it's the French spelling, and queen is actually in my name. So queens wear crowns. And so it's something that when I was feeling low, when I was feeling down, I would reread his book, reread that quote, and it was something that it meant something to me. So for those who are watching and listening, share your favorite quote, share your favorite affirmation, and put it in the chat. Now, Ebony, I know you have 365 affirmations and quotes, but what would you say is one that is a staple for you and your development in life?
Yeah, absolutely. I love affirmations, and I had a love-hate relationship with them when I started my practice, and it's so funny now to have a conversation about it because back then it was very difficult to find kind words to say to myself, and now I like to, I think, recycle affirmations, so I'm not sticking to just one, but aligning with an affirmation that resonates with me in that moment and what it is that I need. And one that I keep coming back to lately is I am my ancestors' wildest dreams come true. And I think the last part to tie it in, come true, is really affirming that not only am I here to really change the game, not only am I here to share the messages that my ancestors are quite literally sharing through me, but it's come true, right? I'm not just doing it, it is continuously coming to fruition and will continue to. And that one has just been really sitting so beautifully with me lately.
Thank you for sharing that. You know, it's interesting. Not affirmation, sorry, ancestors have been coming up a lot lately in conversations that I've been around. Like, you know,
Mm.
we're our ancestors' dreams. We're what our ancestors prayed for. We're at what our ancestors worked for. And I think when we look at our lives and the work that we do, whether it's, all work is important, whether you're being publicly recognized, privately recognized, these are the things our ancestors only could have dreamed of. So, to walk in that honor is such a privilege. But you talk. I want to double back on something you talked about. You struggled with
Mhm.
affirmation and saying that to yourself. If you're comfortable, would you share why?
Absolutely. I'm such an open book with this because whenever I tell folks, I practice affirmations and it makes all of the difference, I always get a few folks who are like, are you sure that saying these kind words to myself in the mirror are really going to make all of the difference? And I say that because I was one of those people. So it's so funny that when we're having conversations with people that we love or
Mhm.
just friends, just anybody that's around us, it's so much easier to speak loving kindness onto them and to say such sweetness. And when it comes to saying it to ourselves, it's such the opposite so many
Mhm.
times. And so I struggled. It was very easy for me to lend out and to give out comments without any question, but to turn to myself and to look at myself dead in the mirror and to say things that, to be quite honest, I didn't even really believe at that point. And that was also the strength that I found in affirmation is I would say things to myself, even if I'm saying in the mirror, I'm beautiful, I'm capable, I'm strong, and not even feeling like I am all of those things, but trusting that by saying it, I am willing it and bringing that into my reality is what convinced me that affirmations really do work. And so now when I still do, there's not just a smooth transition of never ever feeling that challenge again. It does always come back up when it does, it's always a good spotlight on what you need to give yourself and what you're kind of asking yourself for. And so, in struggling through affirmations, I can now say every morning I'm very diligent in my affirmation practice, whether I'm just listening, I actually record myself saying
Mhm.
specific affirmations so I hear myself speaking them onto myself. And I find that just hearing your own voice, motivating yourself in that way is just, it's unmatched. It's a different level of love that you can share with yourself. And I had to build it. Like, I really was at a point where, and I think everybody will get to a point in life where if you don't choose to love yourself, what's on the other end of continuing to disrespect yourself and mistreat yourself is not good. And you start to really see how much it impacts your life. And so it becomes very much a priority to have that soft landing, that soft space in your mind when things get challenging, because that's the one thing you guarantee life can guarantee you, is that it will get hard and it will get challenging. But
Yes.
how well can you bring yourself out of that?
Absolutely. And I, similar, if we're being transparent and keeping it all the way hundo P, I as well struggle, and I still struggle with affirmations. I struggle with self-worth, and like you said, it's easier to tell somebody else something because we have a lot more grace for other people. We've been taught to be kind to other people, but we've really within the same sentiment of being taught to be kind to others, we haven't been taught to be kind to ourselves. Give yourself grace, give yourself space, allow yourself to be in a dark, hard place sometimes. And I was having another conversation where we were talking about sitting with yourself. And I think one of the things for me in getting to a space of better alignment and awareness and appreciation for who God has destined me to be is I had to sit with myself. And my friend Amy McKendy Jr., aka Sir Amazing, we talk all the time about sitting with your demons, and meaning sitting with the negative sides of yourself, the bad sides of yourself, and having a conversation and taming the dark. And a lot of people, they're afraid of the dark because you hear it's just a bad and cold place. But when you learn to master it, and when you sit still and you readjust your eyes, you could see in the dark. How many of us go to bed, you get up to go to the washroom or the kitchen, but you don't turn on the light, but you're confident in the space, you know the room, and when you wake up and open your eyes, you give yourself a few minutes to adjust, and you can make your way through the darkness. And that is a journey. And so I say all that to say that is similar to this affirmation journey, because I'm like you in the sense that I'm like, oh, it doesn't really work. Oh,
Mm.
it sounds silly having to say these things every day, but if you're not going to love on yourself, how do you expect other people to love you the way you really need to be loved? And with that, like, I know there was obviously an intention behind this book, and you had goals obviously for the things that you poured out in here. So what was the research like for you in finding or creating these affirmations?
Oh, what a good question. A lot of the research was actually self-discovery, interestingly enough. So a lot of it was, what are words that I needed to hear when I was going through this? Who could I be for myself when I was younger through these
Mhm.
words? And that really speaks to the inspiration for the book. I think when we're able to really connect with our inner child and give them the space to exist, right? When we get older, it becomes so difficult to
Yeah.
maintain that childhood or that child version of yourself.
Mm.
So a lot of it was reading through my journal, right? Reading through my diary, reading through things that I had written many years ago, things that are unrecognizable to who I am now,
Mm.
to figure out what is it that I needed. And beyond that, what I really wanted to do was to encapsulate other voices of Black women that have really been huge in my journey towards self-discovery and self-love. And women like Audre Lorde, women like Kimberly Crenshaw, women like Viola Davis, and just including their words in the book also, I think, speaks to this collective experience that Black women have. And through having that experience, that shared experience, we're able to be the ones to help each other up the most, right? We understand, if not us, who better understands us better than us, right?
Right.
And so that research was also looking at which Black women do I look to? Who do I see inspiration in, and who do I strive to be like someday? And including those voices is also a form of affirmation, listening to their words and trusting that they also have the wisdom to guide me along my way too.
I love that, and it's true. We talk about sisters with superpowers. We talk about uplifting each other. One of the things that we had some of the speakers do, and we've been encouraging everybody to drop your "Hey sis" video or "Hey sis" affirmation or word. It's uplifting, and we as women of color, Black women, we are known for that community building with each other. There's some that aren't.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
for the most part, we are very good at sticking together and supporting one another. So, what do you hope that Black girls, Black women, um, uh, uh, people who identify as Black women as well, get from? What do you hope that they get from reading this book? What takeaways do you want them to have?
The first thing I want them to know is that they are already magical.
Mm,
Right away, it is an innate magic that we hold within ourselves. Black women, women identifying, we hold that magic within us. And the more we lean into it, the more we trust it, the more we believe it, the more we give it space to exist, the more we nourish it, the more it grows, the deeper it grows, the deeper it becomes. The harder it is for you to sway the way that you used to sway before, the easier it is for you to have that balance and that love for yourself, that unconditional love. And I want Black women to know you deserve to be loved deeply, and you can give yourself that love. I think so often we're told, especially as women, that we have to strive to find this deep love that only exists within the deepest crevices of earth, and that we have to search high and low. And you do, but it is within. It isn't outside of yourself. It isn't outside of everything that you have now. And I think sometimes when we don't focus on that aspect, it becomes a lot more difficult to align with that.
mm.
Just more than anything, know that you're magical right now and you have everything that you need to succeed within you at this exact moment.
Amen. If you guys are feeling that, drop some stars in the chat. Okay, let us see the stars. Let us see all the stars.
Let's see all the stars.
We're stars, we're shining bright lights. And I think that's why I wanted to, and I was very intentional with the thought of stars, because a star is a ball of gas, but it's one of the brightest lights outside of the sun, right? And we are all stars and collective in whatever sky and universe that you choose to live into, but be the brightest in that area. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was the power of the tongue. And I know, affirmations are a very conscious choice. They are a very deliberate choice. And with that meaning, your tongue, your speech, your intent, it has to be intentional to
Yes.
cultivate a certain level of energy. So, from your perspective, can you talk about how is the power of the tongue? How can we use the power of the tongue to change the way we see ourselves and ultimately our life?
Yeah. What a beautiful question. Your questions are just gorgeous. I'm loving this. Okay. I think the power of the tongue is so interesting because I remember way back when I was a kid, this was the first time I learned the power of the tongue. I was about 9 years old, 9 or 10. And it was the first time I had watched The Secret. So it was
Mm,
my mom, my sister, and my grandparents and I all watched it. And I was really fixated on this bike that I wanted. I was like, I want this bike and I need to get this bike. And I said it every day. I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to worry because I'm going to have this bike. So
mm,
when it comes, and it'll be the time that it comes. And all of the time, I'm just there repeating what I'm seeing in the movie and kind of just letting myself learn about how to incorporate it into my life, not realizing that it was already so powerful.
mm,
And I ended up getting the bike.
yeah.
And from there, I recognized, okay, so not only am I able to will it into existence by saying it, but I'm saying it to people who love me and people I love and people who can support me getting to that point. And yes, it was just a bike. So that's,
You
you
were also
know, right, right.
big deal.
But if we, at that point, very big deal. But if we look at it now, just being able to share your goals, your dreams, and being open about those things
Mm,
through the power of your tongue, you're literally placing or planting seeds in so many different ways for your goal or your dream to come to fruition. So somebody you never know. And this is another thing that I think is, if it's for you, if God says something is for you, it will never pass you.
talk it up.
Ever. It's impossible for it to pass you. So if I'm, keeping all of my goals to myself and I'm never talking about them, I'm never expressing what it is I want to achieve, who
Mm,
else will know it but myself? But if I'm open to sharing that, knowing that no matter what, what's to come is what's for me,
mhm.
and who knows, I could say something and somebody in that space is connected to it, or somebody in that space wants to see me there and wants to support me in getting to that point. So they're the ones supporting me, planting the seeds, maybe watering it, helping me change the soil, helping me nourish it, giving it some sunlight. And I really think that that speaks to our dreams and our goals being something that we can achieve as a community. I really
Mhm.
think it's something we can achieve as a community, but not without the tongue, and
Oh,
not without really trusting the strength and the power that you have in speaking that into existence. When I used to say my affirmations, this is back when I had my not so favorite experience with them.
mm,
I found that only through practicing and of course saying it more and more was I able to trust that what I'm saying actually is real. And of course, but from the time you're 9 to the time that I'm 27 now, there
yeah,
are things that just shift your perspective. So you don't
absolutely.
always feel like you can achieve things. You don't always feel like you're capable of it. But if you speak it and you trust that the power in your tongue will bring it to fruition, it will. It will. It
So
always.
absolutely. And I also want to say to that, faith without works is dead, right? So as much as you say these things, you do have to put in a little bit of work. And like you said, be in the spaces where you can share the right certain things with people, do the work, like, okay, I want this bike. It's going to happen for me. I'm going to cultivate it. Maybe that's you intentionally putting extra money aside, or, sharing it with a family member. Like we have, do certain things to help it. But, one thing I've also learned is you got to say it, but you also got to leave it too. You got to, it can't just, is it coming today? Is it like,
Yes,
there's not a deadline for
exactly.
when these things are going to come. And one of the things I'm getting used to in my affirmation journey, I would say is, and I was talking to, I have a class. So I do a lot of different recreational things. So I have a class that I, sign into just for extra academic learning. And the teacher today was like, oh, today was a horrible day. And I was just like, it's a
Mhm.
horrible day. But he was smiling and he was happy about it. And, some of the other students were like, teacher, why are you so happy? He's just like, because you know what? Sometimes you got to thank whoever you believe in. And he's a Muslim man, but he's like, you got to thank whoever you believe in for the bad day. Because you know what? Sometimes through that bad day, it didn't, what he wanted didn't officially go through all the way.
Right.
But
Right.
sometimes through that bad day, there's a blessing and a lesson there. And, through being like, you know what? Okay, today was a bad day in retrospect, but I'm grateful for the lessons it taught me. You will make room for the blessings of the affirmations you've been cultivating to get that client, get that project, get that win, get that man, get that girl, get whoever. Um,
Right.
so that's something I want to talk about that part, because we have to also do the work and remember that you can't just hold tight to just, it didn't come today so it didn't work for you. Like you said, what's for you will never pass you by, and sometimes what we want is not given to us right yet because we're not at a space or a time that we're able to receive and manage. And I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, God only gives his heaviest burdens to his most strongest soldiers, right? So he will give you things when you're ready. And I'm a believer. So
Yeah.
whoever you choose to believe in, but you will get what's meant for you when you're ready to receive and not fumble the bag, for lack
Exactly.
of better words.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right?
And really,
You don't want to fumble it.
you can't fumble it, right? It's all about that patience and knowing that you're growing, knowing that it's for you, not against you. And I will also say, a lot of the time when it comes to the power of the tongue, I don't think people realize how negativity, how easily that can slip into your vocabulary, how quickly it comes to just jump to I'm stupid, or I'm not able, or I'm not capable, or whatever type of negativity that comes. And that holds power too. If you're going to say those words, best believe that they will come to fruition as well. So be mindful of the words that you're saying to yourself, not just out loud, but also in your mind, because all of those thoughts, those turn into actions, right? Those are seeds planted.
And unconscious actions as well. There's things that you do, and like, it's not even just what you say, it's also what you watch. Like, I'm
Mhm.
a big horror movie advocate. Like, I love a good horror movie, but I've started to realize when I became more closer to God and started watching my spiritual, becoming more on my spiritual path and journey, I know I have a very active mind. And they've always said something in horror movies, The enemy feeds on fear and negativity. And, if you think about something, you think about it, think about it, think about it, you could actually manifest that to happen. You could manifest a negative experience. I used to live in Negativeville. I used to like, I have a really strong, um, my expectations for self are extreme, ungodly high, and so
Mm.
at times I could be like, "Oh, I'm not. This is not it. I'm not worth this," because I just have this expectation of where I'm supposed to be, and I've had to train myself consciously. I'll be like, "Oh, this like, you're Jackie, you're so dumb. No, rebuke it. No, like and it's a instant like gut reaction where I'm like, I reclaim that. Like I take that back, and it's like it sounds silly, and you might be talking to me and be like, what is she doing? Why did she say that? Because it slipped, but I was so quick to catch it that I'm like, nope, I
Yeah.
rebuke. Nope, I catch that back. I take that back. I bind that thought. I break that lease. All of those things, and you have to put, I call them markers in place for yourself to realize, oh, I'm a little off the deep end. Just reel me in. You have to be able to do that. But yeah, your negative thoughts are just as powerful as your positive, and also the people you surround yourself with. If you're seeing things on social media that are affecting you, you have the power to choose what you intake. Block it, delete it, remove it. Sometimes my sister gets hot from work and something happened and she wants to vent. I want to be able to let her vent, but there's a moment I'm like, can you give me 1 minute? I'll be 1 second. I need to just ground myself. Let also understand that this energy is not me, protect myself, and then I'm able to hear her
Yeah.
without having to receive the energy. But it's a conscious thing. And it's not that I don't want to hear you. It's I can't allow that energy field to come in and disrupt or crack my barrier, crack my dome. And
Yes.
all of these things have been conscious efforts that I've been trying to make. And it's work. It is. Affirmations is work. It's not saying an affirmation and being like, all right, we good. It's work.
Try another 100 times.
Like
It's so much work.
but it's like smoking. I don't smoke, but it's like when I talk to people who smoke, like, yeah, man, I'm back on that smoking. It's definitely it's a constant and intentional um, lifestyle change. So for those who struggle with self love, with affirmations, with just even thanking themselves, not even thanking themselves, giving themselves grace. Be like,
Mm.
you know what? I give myself grace today because of X, Y, and Z. What advice or tips would you share with them on the first place to start in giving themselves grace?
Good question. First place would be to recognize the discomfort and why you're so reluctant to give yourself that space.
Mhm.
Is it that you don't think you're worthy? Is it that somebody maybe planted that thought in your mind that you aren't quite worthy of doing it because you haven't done enough work, or you're not quite there yet, or you're not worth anything? And a lot of the time, when you start to do that type of work, which some may call shadow work, going into the very depths of why it's so challenging for you to get over these blockages, and it is work, as Jackie said, like, it is continuous work. It's not work that you do to get to a finish line of, okay, now I'm healed, I'll never face these challenges again. It very much is recognizing that discomfort, and that in and of itself is a step.
Yes.
Recognizing, see, the same exact way, Jackie, you were saying, I said something, but I pulled it right back. I rebuke it, I reclaim it. I'm not letting it even go so far out to let it grow any further than that 1 millisecond. And really being able to catch that, I think, is such a skill, and it takes time. It takes time, but once you're able to recognize it, anytime that you have those thoughts come up into your mind, you're able to recognize it as a thought rather than truth, rather than taking that as reality. You can recognize, okay, so I'm saying these things and it might be because I feel
Mhm.
incapable. Why do I feel that way? Did somebody say that? Do I feel incapable because, and especially for Black women, imposter syndrome is almost a looming cloud for us, because in so many different ways we've been told that we're not enough, that we're
Mhm.
not worthy, that in order to get the most basic things, we have to do an unbelievable amount of work. And we do put that pressure on ourselves. I resonated so much with you when you said, it's pretty much just me putting all of this pressure on myself and making sure that I'm always reaching these really high expectations. But
Yes.
when I don't, I have to make sure I'm not beating myself up, kicking myself when I'm down, and recognizing, okay, I didn't quite reach my goal and I'm upset about it. And that's okay. It's okay to be upset about it. But recognizing there's no fault, there's no failure, because now I'm able to learn. It's a lesson and I continue pushing forward, right? It's a journey. And I think just developing that skill of, I'm not even going to let myself say that thing to myself, or I'm not even going to let myself have those negative thoughts. I'm going to let myself craft a really safe, a really positive, a really soft space for myself because I deserve it.
Yes.
Is the best first step. It's something I wish I had known when I started my journey, because I was out looking for this one huge transformative moment.
Mm,
It isn't quite that. And I think because we watch it happen that way, we see it that way on social media, we see it that way on TV, we think, okay, I'm going to love myself instantly on this day. But it's a journey. You really do have to build those skills and build that understanding and build that mindset before you can get to that point of being able to really say that you love yourself, or that you're able to really give yourself that unconditional love.
absolutely. And like we hear this all the time, but Instagram's a lie. The devil's a liar.
It
Um,
isn't bad.
Instagram is a facade. I do it. We all do it. We post the best versions of ourselves. We post the best output of what we want to see. People don't see the work that you do. They don't see that the tears that it took through this. So, you can't compare what someone's day 17 is to your day 1 or your day 0, right? Also, you mentioned something that a few of my friends and I this past week, shout out to Free, Mike, and Rachel, where we were having a cool conversation, and we were talking about dating. And one of the things that came up, though, in the lieu of dating and seeing therapists and understanding that stuff, was a lot of us are dating, moving through in life, dealing with situations from our childhood, as our childhood self, not as the 34, 27, 28, 30, 40, 50-year-old woman. We're dealing and processing things as our child self because we haven't overcome that. And a lot of, our lack of self-worth comes from something that started in childhood. Somebody told you you weren't cute, you weren't good, you weren't this, you weren't that. And as small or as big as it was, it manifested and festered into something, this ever growing enigma, this ever growing cancer, for lack of better words, that continues to feed. And every time you have a negative experience or someone says no to you, we feed that with, I'm not good enough. And so it's a thing where we have to go back to, like you said, figure out what your trauma was as a child, figure out where the first instance of lack of self-worth came from,
Yeah.
honor it, address it, and then fill that space up with love and kindness, and above all anything else, grace, right? And you also touched on something, and we're having a conversation about it during this conference as well, is a strong Black woman syndrome. And yes, we're superpowers and we're strong Black women, but some of these titles come with heavy burdens that we're not able to exude our greatness all the time because we feel like we have to live up to a certain standard. So then when we don't hit that again, that lack of self-worth comes in, and then we can't affirm who we are, to continue to be what we are, projecting ourselves to be. Um, so we are here for Sisters with Superpowers, and we are talking about, the great things that women do. So when you hear the word superpower, what comes to mind?
Ooh. I really like that question. All of your questions. What comes to mind is, funny enough, maybe something folks wouldn't consider a traditional superpower, but I think that's what makes it a superpower. And my first thought is community.
Mm,
And I think the reason I think that that's a superpower is it doesn't place this requirement of this vast effort, this huge amount of work that we have to do on our own and that we have to accomplish on our own. I think the superpower with community is being vulnerable, being open, and knowing that you have a community of people who almost mirror that soft space that you've now built in your mind,
of course.
right? Some people who don't have that sense of community and then do build it I really can, I think, speak to how much of a change it has, how much of an impact it has on their life. And I'm someone who's always been all about community. And I think that's why I look at it as such a huge superpower, not just being able to build one, but being part of one,
Mm,
being a significant, intentional part of community. And beyond superpowers in that respect, I also look at it as just accomplishing the day to day, like getting up out of bed and doing you, whatever that looks like, to
mm,
the fullest is a superpower. Being able
absolutely.
to walk in that and to live in that. I think going even back to that social media point, Jackie, of it being fake and of it being a highlight reel, you know, being vulnerable and having that sense of community is a superpower because it's so
Absolutely.
far. It doesn't happen the same way anymore. People aren't
Absolutely.
vulnerable in that sense anymore.
Absolutely. Sharing your ups and downs. I've been conscious to, I mean, obviously I have on makeup today, but if you ever catch me on a random live, 99% of the time I don't have makeup on. I'm
Yeah.
being vulnerable to share all of me, the raw of me, the real of me, because I'm confident enough and comfortable enough to do that. And that is also one of my superpowers is just now being able to show up in all of me. I used to hide that all the time and be like, I can't, I have to have this makeup on. I have to look this way because I'm in media, I'm in industry, I'm a thick girl. I have to try to look a little bit skinnier. You're going to get whatever body's giving this summer, and I'm going to stand tall in it. And I feel like that's my superpower is to show up authentically as myself because me doing me has allowed me to help others be great, has allowed me to support others within their greatness. And so I say that to say, what would you define your superpower to be?
I would say that my superpower is my ability to connect.
Mm,
I really think that being able to I'm one of those people who's always been able to talk to everybody. I remember when I was in elementary school, my teacher would try to move me around and I would just talk to everybody. It didn't matter who it was. And I think there's so much power in being able to connect to one another, especially in a time where, we might be post lockdown, we might be outside again, but look at how that impacted us, not being able to connect with one another, not having that sense of community, at least in real life, right?
mm.
And even having events like this, right? Sisters with Superpowers, I really think that just even being able to have this conversation and to connect with so many of you is truly a superpower of mine.
I love that. I feel like we could be here forever talking about affirmations and uplifting and building people up. But I want people to be able to connect with you. I want them to be able to purchase, support, get it for your daughters, your granddaughters, your cousins, sisters, nephews. Give it away as bride gifts. Give it to a brother who may want to know how they could uplift a sister in her superpower and give her the Black Girl Magic tea that she needs. How can people connect with you and how can people purchase the book?
Yes. So A Year of Black Girl Magic is available wherever you can find books. So it is on Indigo, it is on Amazon, chapters, all of the things. You can also support me by purchasing on my website. So ebonycurls.ca, EBONI at the end, curls.ca. And if you wanted to connect with me on socials, everything is Ebony Curls Blog, again, spelled with that EBONI at the end, on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, all of the things. I'm always here to connect. And if you read the book, if you're reading the book, I always love when folks share. So please, please, please tag me. I want to repost. I want to see and welcome you into the Black Girl Magic community. And just enjoy over everything. What I really want to say with the book is you don't have to be a Black woman to read A Year of Black Girl Magic. I think there's so much value in the words in the book that anybody can read it. But at the core, it really is there to celebrate Black women. And so if you are one, trust and believe that those words were written from a Black woman, are by a Black woman, and are for Black women.
Amen, amen, amen. Well, Ebony, I'm so grateful that you were here, and I want to thank you for your time. You guys, she does ship to the US, okay? So you can buy it online and it could go there, it could go to Africa, Tanzania, wherever you are. support another sister with superpowers who's giving you your superpowers through daily affirmations. I want to close by again thanking you for being here with us and sharing just your essence with us and sharing your thoughts and being vulnerable enough to share your realness with us. And I would love to close with another affirmation that I would love everybody who's in the chat to either do this on your own. Feel free to share it in the chat, but I want to close by saying this. What's stopping you? Spend some time reflecting on your list of goals today. Sometimes, even when we set out to accomplish our goals, we subconsciously stop ourselves from working towards them because of fear. Take your time reviewing the list and identify what may be stopping yourself from doing. The first step is recognizing your fear. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Ebony.
Thank you so, so much. I'm so, so happy to be here with you all. Thank you again. And I wish you all the best for the rest of your days.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.